buddy. I missed you. My name's Vija Williams. I am with the Kinney companies, and it is Wednesday, and it is noon. That means we're doing a agent training webinar. Excuse me, I just got something in my throat. Woo! Don't know where that came from. Missed you guys last week. I had a great vacation. Went to sunny San Diego and not so sunny Austin, Texas. So that's where I was. I hope you guys had a nice week. I am really, really excited this week to dive in because if you've been following me on my Wednesday webinars, you know that there are two topics right now and two topics only that we're really talking about. Actually, I'm going to break that rule next week, but for the most part, either how to get inventory or how to get your buyers into contract, right? Those are pretty much the only two topics. I am breaking that next week, so you're going to have to wait and see why, but I think you're going to agree with me that it's needed next week. So we're going to start and jump right in with Zach Wendt. Zach Wendt is out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. And Zach, what made me call you and ask you to be a guest is that we are in Ben Kinney's masterclass together. And you were sharing about what you were doing and all the things you're doing. And I was blown away. And I was like, could you please come teach our people this? So Zach, you have a large team, right, in Grand Rapids. You are also a real estate coach with MAPS. And you've got a lot of really, really high profile clients, I think, that you coach. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself over there in Grand Rapids before we jump in?
Team is 2 agents, so it's a small team. We'll close 150 team. Sales this year.
It's a big team.
with two agents, it's pretty good. My passion is absolutely coaching. I love coaching. I'm privileged to coach with some of the top teams inside of KW. I think cumulatively we'll do about $500 million worth of volume with these guys. And so there are some players in this group. And just like you're talking about, the pain point is finding listings right now. And the other topic like that you alluded to is getting our buyers into houses. And so there was, when COVID hit back in March, this was what Gary called an oh crap moment. And there was two different approaches to the oh crap moment. One was sit on the couch and watch what happens. And the other one was to pivot, something that Ben teaches us quite a bit in our masterclass, and make things happen. And so I think it's safe to say that the MLS is dead for buyers right now. It's a phenomenal system if you're a seller. And if you're not willing to do what it takes to be, the biggest, baddest shark in that ocean, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, it's a challenging time for buyers.
Well, I love provocative comments, and I love that provocative comments. I would say it may not be dead. It might be more like the Hunger Games right now, right? But I just like anything controversial and provocative. So I just like what you said, because people will say, ooh, Zach Wendt said the MLS is dead. Whoa. And then people talk about us and all sorts of fun things happen. But you're exactly right. We're going to go through 7 really cool things today. So everybody get your notepads out. 7 really, really cool things, about how to get, listings, right? And most of these are actually marketing based. They're marketing based, prospecting enhanced, right? So this is an especially good webinar for those of you who, like me, don't love cold calls. I mean, I'll do them if I have to, but I don't love them. I'd much rather have a marketing based business, right? Before we jump in, I want to give you a little teaser for next week, right? A little teeny teaser, because I did say we're going to break our little rhythm of nothing but how to get inventory and how to get buyers into contract. Because I think it's a really important topic, because there are 2 kinds of agents right now. One type of agent is having the best year of their life. They are doing phenomenally well. In fact, if I'm speaking to you, you are so busy, you're stressed because you have not seen your family. You don't feel like you can take vacation. Your biggest problem is time. The other group of agent, however, is not that busy, and they're secretly going through some inner battle and some inner turmoil right now. Their confidence is shaken. Listings that they used to go and take, they're competing against and losing in some cases. They are a certain amount of buyer business they expected isn't happening because they're not getting their buyers into contract. So next week, I have asked Patrick Woods to come on. And I'll give him a better intro next week, but we are going to talk through what to do if you're that second type of agent, what to do when you are pushing against rejection and you're secretly maybe shaken a little bit. Your business is not where it was. You're watching your colleagues kind of like do awesome and you're not feeling it. How do you get out of that? And how do you move through that and push through? We're going to go through some other things, including how to create a schedule to win. That's also going to help with that. So we're breaking a little bit next week from this, but I think it's necessary. I'm really, really seeing it because, as you know, Zach, I talk to hundreds of agents every week, right? So I just think that they're both really important topics. With that said, I think you and I both agree let's start with the first way that agents can get listings, right? From marketing. And that is with a foundational thing. What is it?
Well, do you mind if I share my screen, Vija, or do you just want to talk about this?
We don't need to. Yeah, let's just talk about it.
Okay. So you're right with the database. The first thing that I'm going to look to is the golden text. And so when I bring on a new team or I run into those same agents that maybe they're not having the best year ever. One of the things that Gary says, if we're not killing it right now, we need to be looking in the mirror. And that's a profound statement right now. And you're right. There's these two pools of agents. The market is very interesting, to say the least, with the multitude of offers. And the problem really is that if we're not in touch with our database, this is the number one place I'm going to go for off-market listings right now. Someone else is going to buy that house. As they're getting the house ready, the neighbor is going to come over because they know you kick a rock right now, you're going to find 10 buyers right now and say, hey, are you thinking about selling the house? I got my friend that wants to move. And then we get those phone calls, where we have the seller pipeline even. It's our job to make sure that we're explaining this to the database. So the big strategy I'm going to say here by far is making sure that we're consistently in touch with our database. The golden text is something that is absolutely crushing it right now. One team in particular sent out 1,500 of these golden texts. They had 500 responses, basically 1 out of 3. They had 70 nurtures with that, and they took 14 listing appointments with one text going out. The golden text is...
Yeah, drum roll, please. What's the golden text? Okay.
The market's crazy right now. Homes are selling for more than what they're worth. What's the price that would cause you to sell your house without putting it on the market? That is the golden
price that would cause you.
The market's crazy right now.
The market's crazy.
Houses are selling for more than what they're worth. What's the price that would cause you to sell your home without putting it on the market?
Okay. I just typed it in. Sell your home without putting it on the market. On the market. Okay. I just put it in chat.
That question. What's the price that would cause you to sell your home without putting it on the market?
Well, we're gauging motivation. We're gauging, is there a chance that this could be off-market inventory for us? If they say $1 million on a $400,000 house, that's just not realistic, is it?
Totally. And regardless, whatever the response is, so we're tracking 1 out of 3 of a response. Most of the people are going to say, yeah, $10 million, or they're going to carry me out in a box, is the same joke that we've heard a million times as agents. Whatever the response is, an immediate phone call happens after that. And maybe I'm joking around with them if they made the joke about you're carrying me out in the box, and I'm just going to figure out, if you were to move, I know it sounds like you're thrilled to death. When would that be? What does that really look like? And I just want to get notes in the system. This is just simply a very easy touch to reach out to the database in case, some of you out there, you're not maybe not as consistent with the database as other teams are. So this is just a major opportunity to do that.
Well, okay. So I love this. And I just want to kind of pause a moment because for all of you who may be like resistant to calling people, to me, this is a gift because you're sending out an outgoing text and you're only talking to the people who respond, right? So now it's all of a sudden they've raised their hand, so to speak, you're actually providing a huge value to them. Like, hey, what would be the price? Like, I might be able to make your dreams come true. It's not a hard text to send, right? And the other thing I like what you did, Zach, is to me, like the foundational script in real estate is, if you were going to move, where would you move to? I mean, I learned that from Mike Ferry in like 2002, right?
Right.
I mean, that's like the most basic foundational real estate script that there is. So you just went right into it. I love that.
Absolutely. It works. You're reaching out to your database. It's a big return. And, for a pro tip for you, I'll tell you, download the app, Hit 'em Up, and you can put your whole database into this app, and it'll do a mass text right from your cell phone. There's different CRMs that we can text from, but typically those CRMs, or even like a Twilio, it's going to come from a third party number. Mm-hmm. And when you get a message from me and it's a third party number, I know immediately you're thinking, is this really Zach? And so when it comes from my number, there's more of a trustworthy factor there. And so you can label your people in the database. Your A+ people have sent you 2 or more pieces of business, and A is 1 piece of business in the last 12 months. B said they would, or if they have, it's been longer than 12 months. C's are everyone else. I can have these lists quickly, and I can send out mass texts very, very quickly and efficiently. And it seems like it's directly from my number because, quite frankly, it is.
So if anyone hasn't done that before, my one word of advice is to not send them all out at once, because you can get overwhelmed with response and you can't get back to people quicker. So groups of 20 or whatever it is my advice. See what your response is and then send your next batch out. Like, don't send them all at once, because you'll have sometimes 100 people responding and then you're not getting back to them.
Well, like I said, the one team in particular sent out 1,500 texts. They got 500 responses. And so if you got 500 responses, that's a ridiculous amount of people that you got to reach back out to. And we're looking for that immediate phone call afterwards. So that's great advice there, Vija.
I don't like sending that many out at once. I don't recommend it. I don't think it's smart. I think that if you have a team of 50, maybe it's smart. But I like sending out 1,500 texts, right? So I like sending that out. I just think that for most of us, we need to pace them. So Marianne's saying 50 at a time. Great. Whatever your number is, I just wanted to kind of say that, Okay. Well, I love that. I also feel like this is an opportunity to be value add, Zach. So if I'm sending out that text and they're like, no, I'm, pull me out feet first, then I can go right into, for our people who are listening, we have BKCO mortgage, which is no lender fee, $1,000 cash back. It's basically a free refi. And so any single time I've turned my database onto them for a refinance, they're like so grateful, because it's like a free refinance, right? So to me, that's an opportunity to kind of say, hey, that's great. When's the last time you refinance? When did you purchase? Have you looked at that? Because rates are really low right now. So you're just adding value to their life.
Those lender fees add up too. You look at some of those refinances, that could easily be 1%. So if you got a $500,000 home and you're offering this product, you're saving them $5,000. It's not a small gift that you're giving these people. That's a big deal. 100%. That's a huge, unique selling proposition. That's just gonna, help again with that database, looking to solidify that relationship with the database.
Yeah, for sure. So that was number one. Number one is database. And we talked about the golden text. I love it. I think that's great. Number two is the blue ocean strategy, which both you and I deploy it in a different way, but I might even have the book behind me, but you want to tell everybody what the blue ocean strategy is and what that means to you?
We when we're looking to buy a house, there's the 2 oceans that we can fish in. The red ocean is the MLS. And this is where you got to basically find the buyer that's willing to be the biggest, baddest, most aggressive shark there is in the ocean to get that house. When that house drops on the MLS, there's sharks everywhere, multiple offers. Sometimes you got to see that house in hours to really be competitive with that. The blue ocean approach is what Jen Davis talked about, a couple of weeks ago when you had her on this show, where they're finding these off-market homes. And this is something that we've been very successful with. There's a little bit of a patience factor that has to go into us, but it'll pay dividends. Going back to that golden text, what's the price that would cause you to sell your house off the market or without putting it on the market? I'm looking for some people in my database. Maybe they don't want a bunch of people with COVID coming through the house, or, another MAPS client that I have, he found somebody that their daughter lived in this house and she's a hoarder. super embarrassed. The mom was super embarrassed of the house, didn't want to put it on the market, didn't want to expose it to the neighborhood. So just wanted him to buy the house at a very good discount. So this is part of that blue ocean strategy. One of the things I heard you talking to Jen about, which I love, Vija, was that for every listing we take, you were saying there should be 2 sales here. I'm going to push that number just a little bit, but this is brilliant because you're teaching people how to basically double their business. Mm-hmm. With us, we're saying 1 to 3 plus a review is the goal that we're looking to do. So
fantastic. Even better. Love it.
Talking about that 1 to 3, if we have a decent priced listing right now, we know it's going to sell almost immediately. The idea though is, and you talk about this all the time, is we got to slow down that sale so that we find another buyer or another seller in that neighborhood. And I want to share with you something that we're doing to do that. The third sale is coming from that seller. I want to do such a great job and deliver the promise, which I'm sure you've gone over the promise. If not, we have the script and be more than happy to share that with anybody that wants that.
Yeah, for all of you, Mike Hicks, maybe Hattie can share the link, but that's when Mike Hicks and his group came on to share the promise. It's incredible.
It works. For every 10 sales Mike Hicks has, he gets 7 more. Mm-hmm. He controls something like 30% of the market share in Idaho Falls. It's
with
a
like
big
zero
deal.
Marketing budget, by the way, like zero marketing budget. It's like almost all referrals. I can't remember how many, 800 homes, 600 homes. Crazy.
He's the king. He's the king there. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yes.
And he's super humble.
Anderson
awesome
and Mike
guy.
Hicks together. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. So anyway, so the promise is the referral that we get from the seller. So slowing down the sale here, I want you guys to think about open houses when you do it. I want you to think about a 5-star experience. And this is something that I run my clients through. And Vija, give me an idea, and we won't spend a ton of time on this, but what does a 5-star experience for an open house look like? What does an agent do to really rock that open house?
A 5-star experience is when an agent has a lot of traffic and then they convert traffic that's there for an immediate appointment for a buyer consult or a listing presentation, and it happens that day.
You're talking mindset, right? I'm going to that open house with the intention of getting that appointment. I'm not going to that open house with the intention, like I'm done at 3 and then I'm going to go home, right? I'm looking for that appointment. What are they doing though, Vija, to drive more than their fair share of traffic to that open house?
They are door knocking. They're putting an exorbitant amount of signs out. They are sometimes doing direct mail. It's on the internet. It's syndicated. Sometimes it's even a promoted open house ad. I could go on. They door hangers. What am I missing?
That's gold, what you just did. You're going to get a lot more traffic by doing that versus the agent that just sticks the sign in the yard, maybe the day before, whatever it is. You know, we all know what a 1-star open house looks like. Sometimes they're even late for these open houses. So what you're talking about is a proactive approach for this. I want you to dream a little bit bigger, and I'm going to show you where we're getting this other sale and this other listing in the neighborhood. Let's pretend, Vija, you're going to do an open house, and I'm going to give you a blank check, and I happen to be very wealthy here. So I want you to spend as much money as you want on this open house, but I want this to be the best open house ever. What do you do differently now? You gave me a 5-star experience. I want you to go to a 10-star experience. How are you going to blow people's socks off?
I would get a trip to Maui as a prize that I would give away. I would advertise and market that. I would have food and beverage carts or trucks out there. I would have a festival atmosphere, and I would invite my sphere. I would invite the neighborhood. I would make it like a block party, you name it.
What band is playing there?
Ooh, gosh, I'm on the spot. There's so many, Zach.
I
don't know. What band?
You're seeing where I'm going with this. Like we could have,
I love it.
We have Michael Bublé, whatever, I'm throwing out I don't care what band it is. We have Gordon Ramsay, cooking in the kitchen. We have, Dwayne Johnson giving the private tour through the house. We're picking people up in limos, right? This is a 10-star experience.
Love that.
It's over the top. What I'm looking for your people to do here, when we're looking for our unfair share, when you want to go get that listing, there's a law, and it escapes me. When someone puts their house up for sale, if someone was thinking about putting up their house for sale, 3 months down the road, it speeds up their timetable. If I was thinking about buying a car and I'm hanging out with Vija and she just bought a car, I'm going to speed up my timetable. Mm-hmm. So we're looking to get into a relationship with those people. So when I go door knock, what would it look like, Vija, if I invited all the neighbors to a private open house, maybe an hour before the public open house, and I'm doing some of these things, maybe I do have a taco truck. You know, I'm not going to go get Dwayne Johnson or Gordon Ramsay because I can't afford that. But maybe I'm going to bring this to a 6-star experience. So I really want to get the neighbors there. Maybe we are doing some sort of a giveaway. Maybe it's not a trip, but maybe it's a Ring doorbell, and we're letting the neighborhood know. Now we're getting into relationship with other neighbors there, and then we can have a mini touch campaign with these people. So we're also reaching out. We're letting them know it's going on the market. We were letting them know we got 8,000 offers. We're letting them know 7,999 people are still looking for a house. Who do you know that's thinking about selling in this neighborhood? Most importantly, if this is a neighborhood that I want to own, when they see us doing above and beyond with this open house, this is a job interview. I am inserting myself as the number one agent in their mind share, and I'm beating out my competition.
I love that. It's fantastic. So we're, leads from listings, LFL, for all of you who've come on these regularly. I mean, I preach it from the mountaintop. Every single one of us can double our business simply by really being intentional and purposeful about LFL. I love the 3-to-1, even if it's 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, whatever it is, if you're a 12 to 14 unit a year agent, what would your life look like if you were doing 24 to 28 units a year? That is a massive lifestyle change. If you're a 24 unit a year agent, what would your life look like if you even doubled? Forget triple for a minute, but just even 2 times it, right? So, I mean, I really feel strongly about it. And the other reason I feel strongly about it, Zach, is that listings are really hard to get right now. They're hard won. They're hard fought. We are competing. It's just, we're putting our all because there's just so little inventory. Milk them.
Right.
Our market time has greatly decreased. So we have to be smart about how we have to pivot. And we have to get leads from our listings in a different way than in an elongated market where we have a 60-day marketing period.
Absolutely. And there's massive opportunity when we bring our open house to that next level and we show that off to that neighborhood. It's a big deal because you are going to find that other listing. When we slow that house down and we do our other marketing for that property, I am going to find the buyer on there. If you have a deal with a mortgage company that can offer some pretty awesome things, do you have that special financing sign in the yard with your phone number? Because I'm looking to double in this property.
Do you know, Zach? Do you want to hear a fun fact on that? If you put special financing, you really have to have special financing. If you put special financing on a sign writer or an internet ad, your response goes up 10%. It's actually like 11%.
We've closed now. With my coaching clients, this is one of the things I have them do almost immediately. This will pay for coaching for them in perpetuity. Those special financing signs gets the phone to ring. We're seeing, and now I can have the conversation with them too. And if I can control the buy side and the sell side, I'm going to be able to merge them a lot easier than if there's another agent involved. And I'm explaining this to the seller. I want the seller to know, maybe I'm offering a discount on my commission. Maybe it's 0.5%, whatever it is. If we double in the property, there's a benefit there. So now the seller's on my side too. Obviously I'm a fiduciary to that seller. It's my job to get the best price, but I'm also looking to double in this house. And
and I think Zach, Irene just brought up a really good point. I mean, Toronto is, I think, back to a stay-at-home order. I think they opened up a little bit and are back, or maybe they're still locked up. Not everybody is at an open house point yet, right? So I think this is a good time to move into number 4. So number 1 was database. Number 2 is just thinking about the blue ocean strategy, which is off-market properties. We all have to be seeking off-market properties, right? Number 3 is leads from listings. And I would say to you on leads from listings is an ongoing theme in these webinars. So if you want to dive into that more, the best thing I can share with you is to go back and listen to our last 4 or 5, because I'm purposeful about bringing it up, right? And the best thing you can do for yourself on LFL, even if you don't understand how, is just your mindset can change. And you can say, okay, you can start asking yourself the question, how could I get 1 deal? I'd like to say 2-to-1, but how can you get 2 deals out of every listing? Just by asking yourself that, you'll do open houses differently. You'll do your phone calls differently. You'll do your door knocking differently. But then number 4, Zach, and I think we could spend a lot of time on this because anybody can do direct mail right now, right? Number 4 is direct mail.
They definitely
Let's
can.
dive in.
Let's definitely. Irene, I want to say something to you. In Michigan, they locked us down too. And one of the things that we did, I want you to, when you hear these things, like we weren't able to have open houses. If we looked outside, we got a $500 fine. It was a very tough time for us.
I'm not laughing, but yeah, that's tough.
How do you list? And Irene, we had to ask ourselves, are we going to be those agents that sit on the couch, or are we going to be the ones that pivoted? We knew there were for sale by owners out there. And so we started marketing the for sale by owners, and we did it for a discount just to get inventory. And we showed these houses virtually with the sellers doing it. So there's always a way to look at it. And, this is one of the things that Ben preaches via, the people that make stuff happen, they don't ask, they don't ask limiting questions. Their question is, how can we achieve this?
That's right. They don't say, I mean, this is what we all have to remember, and how we started these webinars. Actually, that's how this whole thing started. Was the market will never determine if you're successful. It will determine how you're successful. And that's really what these webinars became about. They're highly tactical pivots. Every single one of these webinars is on very specific tactical things because we are pivoting every week, Zach. Like every week,
right.
Like look at Irene, Toronto's locked down now. It wasn't locked down a few weeks ago, I don't think, Irene, or at least a month ago. I mean, it's been back and forth, right? Every week we're pivoting, right? So, I mean, thank you for all of you who join us every Wednesday, because I think we all kind of need to pause at least an hour once a week and see what other people are doing and get a new idea. And we're just constantly pivoting, but it shouldn't dictate if you're successful, right? Shouldn't dictate if. So with that said, let's dive into direct mail. I love there's so
direct
many cool
mail.
things you have.
We're crushing it. And I am as cheap can be. And so this was something that I sworn off for the longest time. I can have a lot of fun with my database and not spend a ton of money. That is and always will be the biggest return that we can do. That's why we started with the database. However, we're seeing some amazing things happen with direct mail. And this is where we're poaching other people's listings, because we're inserting ourselves there. And so there's a few different ways to look at this direct mail. The stats we're seeing right now, for every 500 letters that we send out, and these are the golden letters. I'm going to get into some very specifics on what you need to do this well. We're getting about 7 to 8 phone calls back, and we're taking 1 listing. Okay. So the teams that I have doing this, and they're following this in a very specific way. It's not complicated, but agents tend to overcomplicate this. And so I'm going to get into that. There's 2 different places, though, that we're looking to send this letter. The first thing that I'm going to tell you is that you got to get the idea that marketing is persuasion out of your head. We're not convincing anyone to sell. The recipient of the card happens to be thinking about this, and we're just inserting ourselves at the key moment. So don't overcomplicate this. In fact, the simpler we can make this, the better. So there's a team in Austin, Gina Rant's team. They spent $15,000 on these golden letters. They've closed $140,000 in GCI, and they have $370,000 in coming soon listings that will be going on the market shortly. Massive return. Wow. He is mailing out letters, 600 on Monday, 600 on Wednesday, 600 on Friday. Kind of like what you talked about with those texts via when they sent them all out at once to their farm. He sent it out first to his farm. They had too many phone calls when those letters hit that day. And so they couldn't keep up. So they had to stagger.
Okay. How many of us how many of you, raise your hands in your car if you're driving or in your office? How many of you are complaining because you're getting too many calls of people saying, come meet with me to list my home? Nobody ever. No one is. So that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay.
It's a big deal. They did 4.3 million in GCI last year. This is going to be about $1.5 million of GCI in their business. And this is an insane return. Note
to self, bring Gina Rant on.
Gina Rant, yeah, he and I have a video of him talking about that. And if you want me to share that with the group, I'm more than happy to do that. But yeah, he's turned it into a business. It's systematized. So the 2 places though that we want to look at sending this to, there's 2 lists that I will give you. One of the things when you're mailing this out to a neighborhood, we want to keep it as genuine as possible. People are looking for they want the letter to be authentic for it to for it to work. So when Gene's sending this out, when my clients are sending this out, they have a buyer in mind for these neighborhoods. The stats that we're seeing, it has to have a 6% or greater turnover rate to get this kind of return. And we all know turnover rate, you take how many households are in that neighborhood and you divide it by the total number of sales in the last 12 months. If that's 6% or greater, you're going to get a good response there. If it's less than that, you're not going to get as good of a response. But it still could be a neighborhood that maybe one of your clients wants to move into. So just a heads up on that.
Okay.
When it is that ratio, that's where we're seeing the 7 phone calls for every 500 letters that we're sending out and taking one listing with that. The specifics of the letter. Number one, it has to be handwritten on the outside, not a handwritten font, not a label, actually handwritten. And there's a few different services you can use out there. I got certain clients of mine that are employing junior high kids to actually address all these letters, which they love it because they're making, 25 cents a letter. Gene Rant pays someone $11 an hour to do these, but there's other websites like handwritten.com that's misspelled with a Y, not an I, handwritten.com. Ballpointmarketing.com is another one. I'm kind of partial to Ballpoint Marketing because they'll actually ship you the letters. They have a machine that handwrites all these things and they'll ship them to you so you can drop them in your post office. So it's postmarked by your post office. So handwritten on the outside. Number 2, actual stamp. It can't be the bulk stamp. It has to be an actual stamp. So it makes it feel more authentic. Number 3, and the last one here is the message is very simple. And I can actually show you if you want. Gina Rant's letter. This is the magic of Gina Rant. Isn't that awesome? You can see he's got his name on there. He's identifying as an agent. Dear Mary Brown, that's the homeowner.
For those of you driving, you can't see this. That was hilarious. This is the letter. Are you ready? It's going to take me a long time. So just bear with me. It's going to be a really long letter. Dear Mary Brown, would you be interested in selling your home at 210 Cartwheel Boulevard to a client of mine? If so, please call me. Thank you, Gina Rant. That's the letter. You know what? At the end of the day, Zach, we all try to recreate the wheel. And just that is the most beautiful, simple ask I have seen.
You can see it's signed. It's not signed by him. So again, it feels authentic, because they're doing such a high volume. That number that you see on there is a Google number that's attached to a specific zip code. None of the calls that come in are answered because they want to do their due diligence. And so they go to a voicemail. The voicemail says, hey, thanks for calling Gina Rant's team. If you got one of our letters and you're open to selling your house, please leave your name, your number, and your address. Which I don't know about you. When I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you got to answer the phone. Like, you're crazy. Many people won't leave a message, but they'll have the phone number. Then they can, they're all kinds of different products. You can find out whose house that is. And now they're doing their due diligence on that house. So then they can have more of an intelligent conversation when they call back. And it's a machine that these guys have built, and they're only amping it up. And think about it. Austin, as we all know, KW's headquarters, that there's a lot of competition out there. So
Austin is arguably the number 1 hottest market in the nation right now. Austin, Texas. I don't know. You probably have to defend that position if you think another market's hotter. I have been hearing stories. I've seen the statistics. I haven't seen anything like what's happening in Austin in a long time. So yeah, that's amazing.
It's very tight there. And to have this kind of success, if you guys are hearing this, you're getting some nuggets out of here, I'm sure, with this. For the love of everything, just implement some of these, though. These are totally working. We could go over all this great information. If you don't implement, you're not going to see it. Going back to what Gary said, if you're not killing it right now, you need to be looking into the mirror, and this is going to help you guys kill it. Absolutely kill it. So we talked about the 6% turnover rate. So those are the different neighborhoods, and they have a specific buyer for it. There are a list of people. I'm going to go through this list, and maybe I'll just throw this in the chat box here. This is the other list of people that we're mailing letters to: absentee owners, inherited properties, eviction records. Anyone going through kicking a tenant out it's brutal. Probate, pre-foreclosures, expired listings, tax delinquencies, and divorce. And so we're seeing a very good return on our golden letters with those two. So
where do you find hold on a minute here. Absentee owners inherited. So that's probate. How are you finding divorce?
Prop stream.
Oh, yeah.
Prop
For all
stream.
of you
Find
guys
all
who
those.
are investors, that's PropStream's kind of the site. Yeah. Okay.
It is, and it's not expensive. And here we got lists of people out here, and like I'm buying a house tomorrow. Actually, I'm spending 140 grand on this house. It was one of the ones that we found through this, where this was an opportunity, and it's in a $250,000 neighborhood. There are deals still out there. Prop stream, like a water stream.
Yeah, it's PropStream. If you're involved in national, PropStream's great. It's just a great resource. Okay. So basically,
really
are you, to all of these people, are you sending the golden letter to these people, the golden letter being the one we just read, or are they kind of different letters depending on, who you're sending it to?
So we want to keep the format as simple as possible. We have buyers for all these properties. I'm a buyer for these properties. If, the price is right, like the one we're getting tomorrow, and this is another thing that I'll pat on Ben's back. Ben Kinney is just preaching that we buy real estate. This is something that we have insider knowledge of. We know what's going on with the neighborhood. Ben shows the returns that we can get from it. So I am a buyer for all of these properties if it makes sense. And then we do have, a multitude of buyers for it. I don't ever want it to feel like a bait and switch, but we definitely have buyers for every single letter that gets sent out.
Okay. So yeah, I get that. So let's dive into this. How many letters are you sending per person? Is it one and done? Do you send a series of letters? How far apart? Is it always the same letter? Is it slightly different? Can we kind of dive into that a little bit?
So I'm going to talk to you about how Gene's doing it, because Gene's arguably at the top of the game with this. He has never sent a letter to the same neighborhood twice. He's only done it once. The clients that I do have that follow this with a postcard or a phone call afterwards, they're seeing a good result with it. Gene's so busy that they don't have to worry about it. And so typically it's one and done in that neighborhood, and then they're on to the next neighborhood. But absolutely, think about it. Like this is a touch campaign that we're building via. So the more touches that we have there, you're going to get a much better response. Sending out that letter, then if you can door knock, we're allowed to door knock here, then following that with a team door knocking through that neighborhood. Hey, did you get that letter? Now it's even more authentic. So you're going to get a much bigger response with that.
Yeah, because my instinct, and we never want to go on instinct. We always want to go on data. But my instinct would be that if you wanted to farm a neighborhood or start in on a neighborhood, that you would send that letter, and then you'd send proof of concept. So you'd say, hey, thank you. They bought your neighbor's house. They bought your neighbor's house. We have more buyers, and, would you have anything for them, or would you want to sell your house for them? I saw one that I really liked, that said, we have 3 buyers. This is exactly what they're looking for in your neighborhood. And they were super specific, like a house with a view. This is our budget. A house with a big yard. This is our budget. Really, really specific. And I thought that was really smart too. Like, I think that what I'm hearing you say is that if there's some level of specificity, like I have a buyer and they're looking, either in your neighborhood or, whatever it's going to be, that tends to be a little bit more effective. Is that fair?
That's the biggest objection we get when they call back. Do you really have a buyer? Or is this a scam? And we do. We absolutely do. I have another client that I coach that he'll actually build the johnsonfamily.com. You'll have a picture of the family. Here's what they're looking for. Here's what they do. Why they'd be a great asset to your neighborhood. And so it makes it that much more authentic. Totally.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. So Gene is just sending one and done. It's just basically the buyer need. We're calling that the golden letter. And that's also going to absentee owners, inherited, eviction records, probate, pre-foreclosures, expired listings, tax delinquent, and divorce. Same letter.
Yeah. And keep in mind, there's 7 million homes right now in the forbearance program. There's a huge wave of these that will be coming soon, but they're extending the moratoriums on these. And we're seeing foreclosure starts are down about 90% year over year, but there's 7 million properties out there that they're not making their payment. Some people are going to be able to get caught up with it. Others are not. And so this is another list that's a huge opportunity to get your buyers into that blue ocean.
What do you mean by foreclosure starts? You mean NODs? Where do you where's the start?
If you go to Black Knight Inc., it's a free site.
I know Black
they
Knight.
track,
Yeah.
they track all the mortgage information. Foreclosure, this is actually the stats that came out this month. They're down 33.9%. This month, and it says foreclosure continues to hit record lows as newly extended moratorium suppresses activity. Starts are now down 88% year over year. Change in delinquency rates up 2.6%. So these are just, this is us pivoting. Like, where can we go to find these properties? And they're there. You just need to go hustle for them.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. This is so good. If I mean, like right now, I just want to burst off of here and just go send letters to everyone. So I hope everyone listening to this feels the same way.
Send the text first. The text is going to be a better response. Do the text to your database first.
And
Protect your people first.
And it's free.
It's free. It works. Right. You'll be busier than busy. Then do the letters. But protect your database first. If you look at how many like Zillow offers, iBuyer, and those off market, they'll just buy your house. They're buying houses left and right. They're slapping some new paint on that. They're putting them back up for sale, and they're selling them. We need to educate our database about this. We need to see if they're open to that, and then we need to be ready to buy if they want us to do that, or get investors.
For sure. And thank you for correcting me, because you're absolutely right. Like, I always want to go to the shiny object. We all do. And we start with the foundational thing, which is our database. So thank you for correcting me. It's free. Yes, a text to your database is free. So number one is database. Number two is just the mindset, I would say, of a blue ocean strategy, and really thinking, asking yourself focusing questions about how can I find inventory that doesn't exist on the MLS. Number three, which, I'm on the podium soapbox about lately, is LFL, leads from listings, 2-to-1 ratio, 3-to-1 ratio, even a 1-to-1 ratio, guys. Like anything, you can double your business with a 1-to-1 ratio. Number four, direct mail, the golden letter. And then number five is pay-per-click.
Let me get over there. Yeah, let's talk about it. So this is something that I came up with this idea. This was kind of entrepreneurial, but once you have that firm foundation, you're allowed to be entrepreneurial. I call it future casting. So in certain parts of the nation, there are a wave of pre-foreclosures that are coming. In other parts, like where I live in Vija, I bet where you live too, there are hardly any.
Yeah, there's not a wave here. Yeah, not in Seattle.
In the resort areas, and it used to only be in Florida and specifically Orlando, but not in the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, I'm seeing this pop up in a lot of different areas where there's a ton of pre-foreclosures coming. So this will, beyond a shadow of a doubt, affect pricing. If you're thinking of selling in Orlando, the ad is designed around letting you know that there's the shadow inventory that's going to be coming. And you can click on this, go to our squeeze page. The squeeze page is going to have you put in your address, and you can see exactly what the shadow inventory is doing. So this is just giving us a way to get in front of these. I'm calling it future casting, and we're building this out right now. And so this is something that, again, it's just designed to get me in front of that seller before they call that agent that's been neglecting them. The big stat here, you guys. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
The big stat is that 77% of people would use their agent again after the sale, but only 17% do. So we're just making sure that we're reaching out to these people. I'm targeting neighborhoods that we want to be in, and then we're talking about this future casting. These leads that we're getting, I can drown people in buyer leads for well under $1 with the pay-per-click things that we're doing. These are about $10 to $15 a piece, but we're starting to see some really good traction with your.
Okay, I like this. So what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm not understanding it right, what I'm hearing is you're paying for ads, on social media, say Facebook or Instagram or Google AdWords, right? Pay-per-click. But your headlines, and where you're sending them to landing pages or squeeze pages, your headlines are future casting. So your headlines are what to expect, and they're like a curiosity close, like check out check out over here what shadow inventory is, or what
shadow inventory. You
area.
Just hit the nail on the head, Vija. That's one of the best ads that we got. The shadow inventory is coming. Okay. Will your house be affected? I'm creating that fear of loss is what they're doing. And like, what are you talking about? The market's insane right now. We start bringing that in, and then we start explaining in certain areas. Like if I was thinking of selling in 6 months, 12 months in Orlando, I would do it sooner rather than later. If I'm thinking about selling here, I'm in no rush at all. And so it's just educating them about the database. And ultimately what we're doing is like, this is a valuation call, that the something that you're very well versed in. And we're explaining the market. We're building that rapport. We're showing them why we're the agents that they want to use when they do go to pull the trigger on selling that home.
Okay. So I love this. And I just want everyone to kind of pause a minute and hear me out on this, because I think that this is simple and it sounds complicated. So even if you're a brand new agent, right? Everybody should have a page that they can send somebody to where they have some kind of added value that someone has to register for. You can literally do this. You can do Linktree. I mean, you can do this practically free, and your value could be a curated home search. Like, the 50 most expensive homes in my market, the 50 cheapest homes in my market, the, shadow inventory, whatever it is. Everybody today should, after this webinar, should go set up some kind of a landing page that they can say, go to www.vijawilliams.com, whatever your landing page is, Vija's prediction of shadow inventory.com. And somebody somewhere where you're going to give them, they're tantalized by the information you're going to give them, and they have to give you some kind of contact information in order to get it. That is like marketing and sales funnel 101, right, Zach? So what you're doing is a clickbait you're using right now that's working is shadow inventory. But this does not, I don't want you guys to blow this off just because you're like, oh, that's for the big teams. That's for the people that have really expensive marketing budgets. You can literally curate an MLS. There's so many things you could do. You could have them email, you could create a Gmail, and you could say, ask me about shadow inventory at gmail.com, and have an autoresponder that sends somebody to a search on your website. And now you have their email. Yeah.
And okay. I coach some rock star teams, huge, ginormous rock star teams. I also coach individuals that are doing this. The perfect person when I'm looking to coach is someone that's looking to put a dent in the universe in a good way. And so it doesn't matter where they're at. And the single agents are doing this to high success. When you look at the different strategies that we're going through, there's when you really study all the teams, you study the great people in real estate, the number one source of 98% of their business is going to be their database. That's going to be the number one source of their business. When you look at all the other teams, they're going to have maybe 2 or 3 more sources, no more than 5. So what we're really talking about here is like, where do you want to spend your time here? Obviously the database, but then pick 2 other lanes that we want to own. This 1-to-3 ratio plus the review that we're talking about, that's killer right now, and like pulling off these 6-star, 7-star open houses, massive opportunity with that. And yeah, don't let perfection get in the way of progress.
100%. I thank you. I mean, I was just listening to you talk. I'm like, that's exactly what I would say. Everything you just said is what I would say.
I kind of learned from you. You're a bit of a rock star yourself.
No, that's only because of the people like you that I have on here. But, what's really, really important is that as you add a lead gen lever, be sure that you've got your foundational one under your belt. So even though I'm going to retract a little bit, even though I said everyone should have a landing page, and you should, please be sure that you have your database and some kind of a CRM, and you're sending them something regularly. And what I preach on my soapbox is all you have to do is send them a market report. I'm a little biased.
100%.
Or a listing alert.
Every person. What if we don't know the area that they're looking at? Just make one up. Bob Stewart preaches that. Get everybody on that and then call me back. Until you do that, don't ever talk to me again, he said. And he was right. We got them all on the market reports, listing alerts. And then we'd get those people that would say, hey, I'm not looking for a house over here. I'm like, what a great opportunity. So where are you looking at? And then, big deal, Vija.
100%. And so the fact of the matter is that, if it's a listing alert, right, or a marketing property report, those are automated. You don't have to do anything. Stop putting pressure on yourself to send newsletters that no one's going to read. They don't need them. Every other week. If
you don't want it, they don't want it.
Don't do it.
Subscribe left and right. So the real estate information.
They don't want your recipes. They don't want it. Yeah.
Not at all.
No,
not at all. But they do care about neighborhood information about their house because they're seeing this market right now. That's a very good thing to send.
Yeah. 100%. We're getting some questions. We're going to wrap up and then we'll come back to some of these questions, Robert and Arianto. All right. So we're going to skip, I think we're going to skip number 6. Okay. No, we're not. I want you to just give the 30-second brilliant mic drop version. It was the best one, but I want you to like give it, and we're going to move on because there's literally no expired listings right now in the country. However, everyone needs to take this brilliant idea and save it for when there is. Are you ready?
Oh my gosh. Yes. When the market shifts, this is a big deal. So if there's an expired house, and what we found, I actually love cold calling. I love calling expireds.
Are you nuts?
For sale. Oh, I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. Favorite thing in the world. But so many of them are on the do not call list. And when you go, I have people that will still call those people, and the fines via are outrageous. Outrageous. I have a friend of mine that's in Gary's group. He had a 6-figure fine from the do not call list. They fined him for the first one, and then they went back in their record. So I asked the question, like, how can we get these expireds to call us back? You know, what would be so compelling that they're like, we got to call this team back? And so what we were doing when there were expireds was we'd go buy the address. So if it's 123 Main Street, we buy 123mainstreet.com. We then send them a postcard, or I'm sorry, a note with a $10 bill inside. And I'll say, I bet I can sell your house for a price you're happy with. I'll bet you $10. I can sell your house for you're happy with, or we'll do it for free in 30 days. Go to 123mainstreet.com for more information. They go to 123mainstreet.com. It now is basically all of our different unique selling propositions. Our team currently sells for about 4.3% higher than the average agent. You know, we have all these different things that we're doing. We have a blue ocean strategy for you so you won't be homeless. And so we just make this compelling case. And, you know, starting to send those out, we were seeing some traction, but then as we all know, that the expireds that are out there right now, at least in our area, there's either some sort of portal to hell in the basement where, you know, this house is a hot mess, or it's just outrageously
portal to hell. That's right. But here's the thing that I do like that we didn't skip it. You were absolutely right. The reason is that when it happens pretty fast. So no market lasts forever, guys, including this one. And so one of the first cues you're going to start seeing is expireds, right? As we start to kind of get a little bit more inventory. So when the market shifts, that's the first thing we can get on that quick.
That shift is violent too. We see like the charts nationally, they look like, oh, they're going up, they're going down. The showings will stop immediately over. And buyers at some point are going to get pissed and they're going to say, I'm not paying that anymore. And the showings will fall off the face of the cliff in your region. And that's when you're in a really happens
though is inventory, Zach. It is shocking how fast it can happen when you're operating in, 1 week inventory, like we are in Seattle, in Puget Sound area, 2-week inventory, 1 off week, all of a sudden 2 off weeks, you've doubled your inventory.
Right.
If your rate of sales, if your absorption rate slows down, it happens very, very fast. You can go on vacation and come back and go, whoa. So when it happens, that expired thing is brilliant. Last point before we go back to some questions, because we do have some questions, is listing conversion. And this is just such a good point to just focus on. You know how valuable these at-bats are, guys. You know how valuable these appointments are, right? What's your magic, Zach, on just how to convert better at a listing right now?
So when I'm coaching clients, and if, at a certain point, there's extreme success is right on the other side of being bored. And when you just go on these appointments long enough, you start to get them, you start to figure out the objection handlers. There's 3 things that we work on to increase our percentages of taking these listings. Number 1 is our pre-listing questions. Are we asking the proper pre-listing questions? Are we hunting for that true motivation that they have? Are they truly motivated? Or if they can get $10 million for the house, then they would sell. That's not a listing I even want, more than likely, in this market. So pre-listing questions are critical. You're also going to figure out, are you interviewing other agents? Have you thought about selling it for sale by owner? A lot of agents, I don't want to ask them if they're thinking for sale by owner. I'm going to address that right away. I'm going to let them know that when we kick a rock, we're going to find 10 buyers there. Anybody can sell your house in this market. Not everybody can get you 4.3% more than the average agent. These are the things that we can do And so we have this whole plan. We talked about the 6-star, 7-star open house. And we teach the seller this. And so when that neighbor comes over, hey, are you thinking about selling? Because I got a buyer for it. They're going to be like, oh, you can wait. We're going to be letting the neighborhood know, because we're going to get every nickel, dime, and penny we can out of that buyer's pocket and get it into the seller's pocket. So pre-listing questions, mission critical. Number 2 is a pre-listing packet. If I didn't want to drive over there and drop off the pre-listing packet, but I wanted to get that pre-listing packet to them the same day, what's something I can do to get it over to their house right away?
You can hand deliver it or have someone deliver it for you.
I'm going to call an Uber. I'm going to make Uber go out there. I'm going to spend $10.
You are so smart.
And then I'm going to have them drop off my pre-listing packet. I'm like, hey, I'm going to have somebody drop off a pre-listing packet for you. Boom. It goes out. And like, how much more am I impressing them? Right. And then we're going into unique selling propositions. That is a mic
drop moment. Why have I never thought about that? That is so smart. An Uber, that's our runner. No fixed overhead, right? I mean, how often are you really, look, if you guys have enough opportunity for an Uber to be going out multiple times a day to deliver a pre-listing packet, you can afford a runner. So like it's not going to be that often for most of us. Oh, that is so smart. I love
and
that.
How impressed are the sellers? They're interviewing other competition, but I just had my pre-listing packet dropped off. The last magic bullet, point number 3, if you want to get your conversion through the roof, is nailing the presentation. The big secret weapon with nailing your presentation is just asking questions. And this is where we talk about water skiing or scuba diving. I really want to go into the why. And I asked the question, if I could wave a magic wand, what would the perfect experience look like? Why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? I'm going to drill down to the core of the issue. I'm going to see what really matters to these people. And so take the time to really care. When they say we want to move to this school district, well, what's so important about that school district? Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Go deep. People want to know that you care before they care what you know.
I love that. I think that is so smart. Just kind of monitoring questions. Since we only have a few minutes left, I do want to go back to one because I would actually like some clarification on this. So going back to the pay-per-click that we talked about, can we talk a little bit more about future casting? What that mindset is. So I get that you're saying shadow inventory. What might other future casting headlines be, or landing pages, or squeeze pages, as you call them? So
the best motivator to get somebody to click on it is that fear of loss. So I'm playing a psychological game. So I'm thinking that my big question was like, how can I get to a place where I am spending less than a referral fee to get a listing here? And so I want to drive traffic. I want to put people into the database. And so it's that fear of loss. Our headlines on the buy side too, when we get these leads for well under $1, there's some sort of a fear of loss, that this will sell immediately, get in now before the other buyers. But with the sellers, the sellers are feeling cocky right now because they can. It's a powerful seller's market. I want to create that fear of loss. Do you know there are 7 million homes in the forbearance program? Do you know in certain areas, this is going to dramatically affect your selling power here? And if you sell at the height of the market, we can also show you how to get to the blue market, the blue ocean that we talk about. So it's about getting into their head with it. I'm working with my wife and I, my wife primarily, she is a rock star. She owns a e-commerce business that's huge. And, we spend between $10,000 to $15,000 a month on pay-per-click ads with that business. And so we're working on with that company that we use for that pay-per-click to start driving traffic here. So this is going to be a major opportunity, I think, for me to share everything. And selfless plug here. If you go to Gamify Real Estate, that's our Facebook group. It's a private Facebook group.
Sure. Gamify Real Estate.
You guys can join that. We go a lot more in depth with all of these here, and we too have our own masterminds.
Well, I love that. So for those of you asking, here's how to think of any, and I'm glad you guys are all asking because it's a good question, because I think there's some confusion around, okay, well, what does shadow inventory have with me getting a listing appointment, right? Here's why, you guys. Here's how I want your brains to think about it. Anybody that responds to you and raises their hands, you have a lead. Okay. Because if there's something that in your marketing that has enticed them to come on and give you some kind of contact information, even if it's just their own address, right? I would recommend all of you guys watch the Gail Smith webinar on home valuation leads. I had her and Bob Stewart on. Patty can send the link, and we'll just be sure all of you guys on our follow-up email to this have the link to all the playbacks. Okay. So here's what I would say. Anybody who responds is really just an invitation for you guys to go into basically a home valuation follow-up framework. I mean, that's a simple answer, right? So is it GAMEIFY? Oh, no E. Okay, Gamify real estate. All right. So we have a really big follow-up email. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm sure we can get the link for that too, but we have,
yeah, for sure.
We're talking about a lot of the same things that you're talking about too. And not looking to do anything with it other than give back to the community. Cause gosh, we're in an awesome profession. So if I can help out anybody, I'm here for you guys. This is a passion of mine. Ben has poured so much into me. Ben has changed my trajectory dramatically in my life. And if I can do anything for you guys, I'm always here for you.
Well, thank you, Zach. You are awesome. This was an awesome webinar today. I took so many notes on my own webinar. It's not even funny. So we have a very beefy follow-up email. That means it's probably going to be tomorrow or Friday, guys. We're going to give you scripts. We're going to give you the letter. We're going to give you a whole bunch of things. I will also make sure that we include on that email a link to all the playbacks, because there's recurring themes, and the best way I can answer a lot of your questions is just to have you go back and, you guys, most of these you can just listen to in the car. You don't have to, even though they're on YouTube, you don't actually have to see them. In fact, I've had a couple people ask if we could turn these into podcasts, and I think we'll do that. So so let me know if you guys would like us to do that, so that they're all audio. I think that the bottom line is, if you can fill your head with some of the great things people are doing right now, and even if you just get one idea per webinar, you can change your business. I really believe that. So we'll do that next Wednesday. I really want to urge you guys to join me with Patrick Woods. It's going to be a little less tactical, a little bit more mindset. And I think we all need it. The week after that, oh my gosh, you guys, Kimberly Meserve is crushing it with webinars and seminars. She's crushing it. So she is going to tell us everything we need. And then I've got Sarita Dua coming on again, how to win in multiple offers. I mean, we have so much gold coming. I can't even remember all the dates, but thank you, Zach. You were awesome. Thank you guys all. It's good to be back. I will see you next week. Bye.
See you.